In the previous episode, I planted gourd vine seedlings throughout my garden, and a few of them didn't quite like where they were growing, wilting just as they were trying to grasp onto other plants and grow. But that was not the case for all of them. Some were thriving. The gourd that I planted over there is completely dead. I don't think it liked the shady conditions there. This one, on the other hand, is zooming up, especially in the last 2 to 3 days. And I've been watering it well in the morning, and I put a lot of grass clippings, and it seems to like that. I think it's able to catch more of the sun here, and it will just grow better. Now, I had to put this cage up. It's not the most aesthetic thing ever, because I was planning to have this whole passageway be free of these cages, but groundhogs started to eat the leaves, so I had to. And it did do the trick. And actually it's liking the fact that it's able to grow up here. So it'll probably colonize the arch, and my suspicion is that most likely the cucumbers will produce and then they're gonna die, and hopefully this is gonna continue growing. And if it colonizes this arch and actually there's like fruit hanging, that's gonna make my day. Or my year, actually. It will be the perfect thing. I'm not going to put too much effort in it, because usually I'm disappointed by the cucurbitaceae family. It's very unreliable as to if it's going to grow well or completely fail. It usually either grows really well or completely fails. There's less of a moderation in this family. So I'm not going to even look at it too much. I'm just going to keep watering it, put a lot of grass clippings, and hope for the best. Gourds are not edible. They're a decorative member of the cucumber family. For that reason, they like the same conditions: moist but well-draining rich soil and lots of sun. As usual, I was trying to get as many different plants growing in my side garden food forest. But I don't limit myself to only edibles. To increase the usefulness of this space, I decided to grow ground-hugging herbs amongst the stepping stones of my path. I went to my local nursery and purchased a selection of plant starts: thyme, oregano, chamomile, and others. A really successful garden is one that will appeal to all the senses. And one sense that's still yet to be developed here is smell. So I bought these herbs, and I plan to put them around the stepping stones in this path. Now, I don't have too many, because buying plants like this can be a bit expensive, and I would love to actually propagate them as the garden grows. So that's my plan. I'm gonna start putting them in certain crevices, and hopefully the grass is gonna slowly subside and the herbs are gonna take its place, and as you walk, that beautiful scent of herbs will just infuse the air. I usually prefer to grow plants from seed. One of the main reasons to do so is that it is generally much more affordable to grow them yourself than to buy them as ready-made seedlings. A packet of seeds can cost as little as less than $1 and comes with many seeds. Seedlings are more expensive, but they are also more limiting. Usually you cannot get many exotic varieties for sale, especially in a big box garden center. However, certain plants do not come true from seed, or are very unreliable sprouters, taking weeks to germinate. That is why I purchased these seedlings. Certain oregano varieties will not produce seedlings with the same scent as the mother plant, while some of the most treasured culinary herbs like French tarragon cannot be grown from seed at all. French tarragon actually produces sterile flowers, so the only way to have it in your garden is to get hold of a cutting or root division. You may find seeds labeled as tarragon for sale, but don't be fooled. It is not the same scented variety. It will most likely be Russian tarragon seeds, which do not really have the scent and flavor of French tarragon. For that reason, they are usually transplanted by cuttings, vegetatively. I have in the past raised common thyme from seed. It takes quite a bit of time, pun intended, to get thyme growing from seed. So for these perennial herbs, purchasing starts makes sense. Coming up in the next block, I share a few more tips on planting herbs and show what happened to the gourd vine right after this commercial. If you enjoyed the videos and would like to support the channel, you can purchase an original painting or drawing in my Etsy shop, or become a patron in my Patreon. One of the key secrets to have plants thrive in your garden is by building good soil. I have slowly built up my soil, making it richer and more well-draining by introducing organic matter wherever I can, especially through chop and drop. I suppose some people see my soil and think, well, this guy has awesome soil. I don't know why he complains about it. And actually, I don't really complain about it because I think it's awesome soil. However, if you take a look, this soil here in the path is soil I never touched. And it's soil that has been compacted by normal walking over it. And you can see that it's a lot more clay-like, and there's less of a topsoil, and you get to the subsoil of clay, of red clay, quickly. That's how all my soil in this side was. See, this is like clay, like red brick clay. Now, some people have this as their soil and don't have the topsoil, and I feel your pain. However, if you just take a look at the soil here in my beds that I've planted for a few years, it's night and day. It's just so much. I can dig it with my hands, and it's darker, and there's just more life. You see worms coming out of it much more than here. So just a difference of 2 to 3 feet here, and it's another story. Soil is everything. It is less the support or defeat of a garden and more of the heart. Taking proper care of it is key. So that means that even if you have the most amazing soil, you can make it even more amazing by following the organic principles of adding organic matter and keeping the soil mulched and all those other good things. By planting these herbs in my less than ideal patch of trampled over soil, I was taking a chance. While these herbs do well in poorer soil, it needs to be well draining. Poorer soil means it is not as nitrogen rich and has less of the humus that most plants thrive with. But it doesn't mean clay. That is because clay actually holds good fertility, but it just has terrible drainage. I was also growing Roman chamomile as an experiment. Roman chamomile should not be confused with German chamomile, the one used for tea. Roman chamomile prefers a cooler summer and partial shade. So if the other heat-loving herbs didn't like this spot, maybe the chamomile would. It was grown as scented lawns a lot in medieval England, which has the perfect weather for its cultivation. I was dividing up the clumps as an attempt to get as much value from the purchased transplants. A more sandy, rocky soil is what the Mediterranean herbs crave. That is the soil closest to their native habitat. Heavy clay will trap water near the roots, causing them to rot. Most of these herbs can deal with less water than usual, a prime reason why they grow so well in California with its Mediterranean climate. While my soil was not ideal for these herbs due to the higher clay, the fact that this spot slopes and lets water drain down counted as a plus. I was more worried about something else, sun exposure. As the trees in front of my house have grown through the years, I have lost some of the exposure I used to have, and I've noticed that my plants are competing more. I may have lost about 2 to 3 hours of intense afternoon sun, replaced by dappled shade. For that reason, I decided to plant the herbs in the sunniest spots I still had, the path itself. That was growing nothing but lawn. A few weeks later, they looked very healthy growing near the stepping stones, so I was happy. As summer reigned over the garden, flowers decorated the path, creating a glorious and festive display. I was anxious to see how the gourd vines were faring. The vines I had planted near the front fence were thriving, showing great vigor, competing with both cucumbers and grapevines. Summer invites new fireflies. They loved the sunny position, and I made sure to keep their feet well watered to promote good growth. But the magic was happening in the side garden as the path had miraculously transformed in a matter of weeks into a portal of green. The gourd and the cucumber vines took full advantage of the morning and afternoon sunlight, weaving a dense mat of foliage and pumping out flowers every day. By this time, the path was starting to become overgrown despite the groundhog's efforts to raise all the low-growing edible vegetation. Soon enough, there were large gourd fruits hanging from the arch exactly as I had hoped for. The gourds growing amongst the grapes were also revealing large pendant fruit. Autumn brings forth old lullabies, winds howl prophecies hidden from sight, echoes can't hide where truth resides. But a rainy autumn brought in disaster. As the gourd vine succumbed to disease, the groundhog also managed to grab onto the lower gourd fruits, despite apparent rejection after a few bites. All their fears realized, all their hopes sag inside, waiting for change. Some of the gourds did survive, but they never developed skin thick enough to last. If only the weather had cooperated for a few more weeks.